Retold Ash lived in the basement of an abandoned building in Riverdale. The building used to be a part of the collection of structures that belonged to Bakersfield Elementary School. He parked his car outside the school gates, dragging Marcio through the back of the dilapidated building into a narrow weeded road littered with trash from a nearby dump site. It smelled terrible. Terrence turned his nose up, wondering how it was humanly possible to survive like this. The building was dark, with smelly puddles of standing water mixed with urine and shit. A stray dog appeared behind a cracked pillar, barked once at them, and scampered off. Marcio hesitated. The detective prodded him forward. "You sure he lives here?" "You ain't seen shit." Marcio continued to grumble. He walked to a place in the building where the foundation had caved, leaving a gaping hole in the floor. Marcio stood at the edge. "What?" Terrence asked. "This is it. My fam Ash, he got me a few jobs with Snokes. I told you all I know, so let me leave." Terrence peered over the edge into a dark cave and stepped back. He asks if Marcio was sure. The male replied that he lived with his cousin Retold Ash until Snoke offered him a new come-up to make some easy cash. If he did a few things. "What things?" the detective asked him. "You won't believe me if I told you. Best you see for yourself." Terrence pushed him forward. "After you, then." Marcio stumbled down the surface of a slab. Terrence followed. He held onto protruding steel rods poking out of the sides of the fallen concrete. The floor leveled out, leading to a long dark hallway. The walls were green with algae. The floor was filled with craters of different sizes. It was fouler smelling than before. Terrence held his breath at first but soon gave up, opting to breathe out his mouth instead. The terrain changed after a while. The walls weren't in tatters, the foul-smelling puddles disappeared. The hallway bent left, and they entered a hallway with electric bulbs dangling from the cracked concrete of the ceiling. Marcio stopped at the door and pointed at the handle. He whispered, "That's his door. Open it." "What? Why don't you just shoot me, huh?" Marcio shook his head in refusal. "Open it, damn it!" Terrence yelled. Marcio glared at him as his frizzy curls dangled over his face. With a hard shove, the door swung into a long hall. It smelled of weed, spices, and other foul odors. Terrence's eyes adjusted to the gloom. Leaves from hanging vines hovered from the flower pots full of maturing weed plants. Grow lamps sat off to the side. Towards the back was a mess of cars in different stages of deterioration. Terrence spotted a Camaro. Its engine hatch sat empty, with some shrubbery growing in the engine's place. "What the fuck is this dystopia? Who goes there?" a thick voice called from a place at the end of the hall. Marcio's footsteps faltered. He stood trembling in fear. "Stay here," Terrence whispered. He went on, cautiously walking forward. Green light gleamed behind a black curtain that ran the entire width of the hall. He flicked his safety off and checked the chamber. "This is Detective Terrence Slayton. I'm here to ask you questions. You are not under arrest. I repeat, you are not under arrest. Are you armed?" "Yes." The voice roars. "You say I'm not under arrest, Detective Terrence Slayton?" "It's just a precaution." "Who determines what to be cautious of in my house? You or me?" "I am a cop. I have to carry a weapon. Why don't you step out and let me see your face? I need to ask you some questions." "Marcio, is that you? You brought a cop to my house?" Marcio mumbled something behind Terrence. He sounded pathetic. "Marcio is okay. He only brought me because I made him. Can you come out, Retold? I really need to ask you some questions." "About what?" "The bodies. The girls that are missing their parts, and the demons." There was silence, before the long curtain parted in the middle, and one of the thinnest individuals Terrence had ever seen walked out. He wore long black pajamas that dragged on the floor behind him. If a strong gust of wind blew in, the detective was sure Reynolds would fly away. He had long matted dreadlocks on his head. His eyes were so deep-set in his face that he looked blind. Through lips the size of sausages, Reynolds taunted, Be careful about the questions you go around asking, detective. Retold waved Terrence over to come to follow him behind the black curtain. Marcio stalked in right after. It looked like a juju man's enclave. Red candles lined the top of shelves left and right, and a bunch of skulls sat with empty mournful sockets from a pole. The floor was marked by white and red chalk. Terrence turned around as he walked past to see that it was the combination of triangles of the Star of David. There were sprinklings of cowries everywhere, and the smoke-filled air was heavy with incense. The world is filled with the unknown. They seek to harm us all, so I try to know as much as possible. To be able to fight back, you need voodoo, Retold explained as he led Terrence to a place further in the back, where deep puffy chairs were facing each other.